This is the Post Shift Podcast, a raw look at the hospitality industry. What's happening, Post Shifters, and welcome to, I have no idea what episode this is going to be, but it was one of my favorites so far. Well, it was my first at Toronto Cocktail Conference. This is part of the Toronto Cocktail Conference series. You're going to probably have about 10 to 12, so about 3 months worth of podcasts in there, and this may stretch out for a long time, but I've got some epic people that I want to talk to. TK from the Donnelly Group, Trevor Callies, Camper English, Andrew Toplak. Oh, the list just keeps going on, and I'm just absolutely freaking stoked about all of it. Today, however, is one of my, I like to abbreviate COM as my kids. If you know me well enough, you know that I have illegitimate bar children all over Canada, and James Grant is one of them. He is based out of Edmonton. I met James a couple of years ago when he did a guest shift at FTW, and that was organised from our lovely mutual friend and one of my adoring children, Marley Baxter, who met him in Cuba. And so we brought him out to FTW. We had a fucking blast, and we just had a good time. And me and him just clicked, and I don't know what it is. We did World Class last year, and for some reason, we just always clicked on a level that I don't get a lot with a lot of people. And it was just something pleasant. And I always had an opportunity to get a chance to sit down with him and pick his brain, especially about World Class and Manhattan Cocktail Classic and that sort of thing. So, and obviously he's a trash panda here at Toronto Cocktail Conference. So he had a little chat about that, about why even when you're at the top of your game, you can still rock out being a volunteer and doing the shit work. So I really hope you enjoyed this episode, guys. It was a fun one for me. Thanks a lot for the support. I really appreciate it. And I hope to hear from you soon. Have a good weekend, guys. Bye.
So how about you introduce yourself?
Sure. I'm James Grant. I am a bartender from Edmonton, Alberta. I work at a bar called Little Hong Kong, and I've been bartending for 6 years or so, 6 or 7 years.
I think to me that's just mental because we've known each other for like 2.5 years now.
Yeah. Through
Marley, because that's how we first met.
Yep, she and I were in Cuba together.
That's right. That's how. Yes.
Yeah.
Because you did the Havana thing, and you came out to FTW, and we had a great time at FTW. And I think the hard thing was, turn my chair a little bit. This is better. And you just clicked with all my guys so quickly. And my guys were pretty fucking elevated.
Yeah, you had such a phenomenal team there, and I was extremely intimidated showing up because I thought all of my cocktails were like the drinks that I showed up with. I was like so nervous about them because I was like, these are the most high concept drinks that I can bring with the limited skill set that I have. But it was great. Like, you guys were like so hospitable, and that was one of the first times where I was looking at some of the stuff you guys were doing, and I barely understood it. And it was so exciting. It was really exciting to be in that position again because, a lot of times
you see the same stuff regurgitated over.
You see the same stuff over and over again, and you very rarely ever get that experience again. Like the first time someone gives you like an Amaro or something, right?
Yeah. First time you taste Campari.
Absolutely. Like I think of those experiences in my career like very clearly because they're so memorable. Like my general manager now, who was one of the bartenders who originally trained me, I remember being on bar with her once. Like, she was making like an Irish coffee or something, and she made whipped cream just in a tin. She could have pulled like a rabbit out of that tin, and I wouldn't have been more surprised. I was like, "How did you do that?" She's like, "It's whipped cream." I was like, "That's how." So like stuff like that was like is always really exciting because there's always more to learn. There's always deeper to drill. There's always.
And what did you do before bartending then? Because like you're not old at all, but you're not young anymore.
No, I think in the context of where I'm at in my career in terms of like time, I'm old for that. Like I'm 35, right? Which is like 30 is a bit late to start in the industry. I think it's not unheard of. There's a lot of
midlife crisis.
Yeah. So before that, it's funny to say. Before I was a bartender, I worked in PR and communications, and didn't really like it. I mean, I like aspects of it.
Yeah.
But all the things I like about that, I do in bartending.
Yeah.
And like it more. The structure of it works better for me. But I was doing communications, and I basically did kind of have a life crisis. Like, I got divorced. I moved out of Edmonton. I moved to London because I had some friends there that I'd known from going to school in Scotland. And it just all kind of came together. So I got a work visa and moved to London. I figured, I've been doing communications for 5 years.
Why not?
I have experience. It'll be easy to... Not easy, but
I'll
I'll...
Go take London by storm.
I was like, I'll take any job. Whatever, I'll just take a job. What you don't realize is, you get there and it's like, oh, everyone has experience in London, and everyone has, a master's degree or some sort of hyper-specialized skill set. And it's not easy. That city will eat you alive. 100%. So, after, a month or so of sending out... I think I literally sent out 100 resumes for communications jobs, and I never got a single interview.
Whoa.
And then there was a day where I just decided, okay, I need to make a go of this. And so I Googled bartender resume, and I downloaded it, and I obviously put my information in, made up 3 bars in Edmonton, because I thought, no one's going to make an international call
to check
to any of these references. But also, for some reason, I'm like, they also have the internet. They can see if any of these bars exist, which none of them did. And I gave, my friends' phone numbers as my references in case someone called. Also not thinking through that none of them have ever worked in bars. So what are they going to even be able to say? So
just give you a good reference.
Yeah, they'll just be like, he's great. So I sent out, say, 50 applications to just various bars that were hiring in London. And the next day had 25 interviews set up. I thought, okay, this is more of a step in the right direction because, London...
The other way wasn't working.
No, and I mean, London, obviously, in retrospect now, I realize, it runs on people with work visas.
Yes.
Just puts them into jobs, burns through them, and...
That's it.
Fuck off back to whatever country you're from. Thanks for putting all your money into our economy, which is great. But I really took to it. I really enjoyed it. I couldn't work in a cocktail bar. I deliberately avoided applying to cocktail bars or interviewing there.
Or fine dining or...
Fine dining, because I didn't know anything about it, right? I knew that I couldn't fake making cocktails. I couldn't really fake wine service. But I could pour a pint of beer.
Yeah.
So I ended up working at kind of the flagship bar owned by one of the local breweries, a craft brewery in London called Camden Town Brewery. So they'd just finished renovating their bar, and I signed on and took that job, and within a month or two, they brought me, they moved me up to duty manager, and then, say, maybe at the end of a year, was exactly when I realized I'd run out of money.
How have you been working? How have you run out of money?
Because London.
It's true.
Because London. It was interesting. It was a complete culture shift for me, essentially, going from working in an office to working in the industry. But I enjoyed it, and I seemed to have something of an aptitude for it. And one of the nice things that happens when you have an intersection of aptitude and enthusiasm and passion for something is it's not that you excel at it, it's simply that you're willing to put in the work.
You double down on it.
Yeah, absolutely, because you enjoy it, you like doing it, and the work doesn't always feel like work.
Yeah.
So when I ran out of money, I moved home, and I kind of split my time. A friend of mine knew someone at a cocktail bar in Edmonton, knew they were hiring, so...
Had you done cocktails in London?
No.
Or had you still not even touched the cocktail scene?
I hadn't touched the cocktail scene, which is crazy now, because I think if I could move to London now...
Oh, you'd be the king.
No, but I know people there and would be able to hopefully get a job somewhere decent, and, I have more connections in that industry, certainly.
Yeah. But why would you come back to Edmonton and go for a cocktail bar job when you didn't have any experience in cocktails to start with?
Because I wanted to learn.
Okay.
And I knew that it was one of the best bars in the city. And I told them straight up. I was like, I don't know
Diddly squad.
anything about cocktails. I was like, I can bartend. Because at that point, I could. You know, I'd run, you know, like a 140 seat venue,
Yeah.
and like we've been through like
which is small for London.
Yeah, and we'd been through really busy nights of service, but it was pub bartending, right? But you know, you go through the ups and downs. You learn kind of not all the ins and outs, but you get a sense of what the industry is like. And I wanted to learn about cocktails because you know I'd seen it before, and I'd been out for cocktails and enjoyed them. Like I liked drinking cocktails, but I didn't know really anything about making them. So that was kind of what drove that, and they took me on as a bar back. I think their bar manager had just broken his arm or something, so he was basically out of commission.
Which bar was this? Can you say?
Yeah, no, of course, yeah. This was Woodwork in Edmonton.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Was this Brendo era?
No, so Brendo had opened that bar, but he left, I want to say, about maybe 6 to 8 months after it opened, because he also helped open North 53, which was kind of the other premier cocktail bar in the city. When I came on board, the restaurant had been open for maybe a year to a year and a half. And he was already on to like his third or fourth bar that he was like helping to set up. And I really only got a chance to meet him once, maybe twice.
It only takes once.
It only takes once. You absolutely know. Like I remember very distinctly. He came in one night, right at last call, because obviously he just finished at whatever bar he was at. You know, when you're still kind of like new to the industry, you're like, oh, why are we like we're closed? Like, and you know, the other bartenders are like, one, shut the fuck up. Like,
secondly, kiss this fucking ring.
Yeah, it's like half of this menu he designed, so like we'll make him a drink. And
the reason we have Chino on the back bar is because of Brendo.
Yeah, and I was like, okay, and they're like, and if we ever go to his bar at the end of the night, he will serve us. That is how this give and take works. And so I met him once, and then I met him at a gin tasting. And that, like you said, you only have to meet him once, and his impact on that city's communities,
it's still insane.
It's wild. Yeah, so I ended up working at Woodwork for 2 years, and when I started, I was only there like 2 or 3 days a week, because I was doing like contract work, still doing some communication for PR and communications. I was working for the university, and it kind of hit this like breaking point where they basically like pulled my contract, like without any warning, and I was like, I'm contracted for this, and they're like, well, at the end of the day, like you can't do anything about it. So I was talking to someone at work. I think it was our chef at the time. He's like, well, what are you going to do? I'm like, I don't know. I could get another job. Like, he's like, you're good at this. Why don't you just do this? Like, bartend. And I gave some thought, and I was like, well, you know, like, the money's like, he's like, if you do anything for the money, you're never going to be happy.
Yeah.
Like, if you like doing this, and you're passionate about it, and you enjoy it, you should do it. Which was...
I wish so many young bartenders would listen to that.
It was really crazy, because I remember making a very conscious choice that I was like, I'm going to actually try this. And, you know, of course, like, the conversation that comes after that is, you know, you're having a conversation like, Mom, Dad, I'm going to be a bartender. Sorry I spent...
Oh, I remember those days.
Yeah, like, I know that I just spent, say, $20,000 on all of this education, but I'm going to be a bartender. And initially they were, like, horrified. Like, both my parents are basically teetotalers. And they were just like, what are you talking about?
Have they got over it now?
Absolutely. It's crazy now. Like, I see my dad, like, when we're out, like, you know, having a meal or something, and he bumps into friends, he's like, it's my son, he's a bartender. And, like, I think they're so floored because, like, to them, bartending was very different, right?
Does
like,
your mum collect all your clippings whenever you're in the paper and shit?
My
mother-in-law does.
Yeah,
there's a scrapbook. It's very, like, a little morbid, but, like, it's a scrapbook of all the awesome things that I've done.
Yeah, she'll, like, send... It's cute, because she sends me, like, articles now. She's like, here's an article on Caesars. And I'm like, that's great. Love it. Thank you.
I think you were actually sitting in the bar one night at FTW when you came in, and she sent you something.
Yeah, she did.
And you showed everybody.
All the time.
And it was just this random Globe and Mail article.
Yeah.
That you were... Oh, I read this, honey. You should really read this. It's a great article. Yeah,
she's really fun. Like, they're very supportive now, but it took things like winning competitions and traveling and all that for them to sort of start to understand what the industry is.
And so, coming back to competitions, what have you won? You've won a lot. You've done a lot. I've always been impressed with how you bounce. Like, you just fucking, like, kill it.
So I've had what I call modest success with competitions. I've been treated very well. Like, I've done world class. This is my third year. I've been lucky enough to make it to the national finals twice. The year that we did it together, I was lucky enough to make it to the final four.
Yes.
And obviously they don't give out placings within the final four, but I think I did okay. It was nice. It was a great experience, but didn't win it. This past year I did Woodford Reserve. I did the Manhattan experience. Went down to Kentucky with the other kind of 48, 46 semifinalists and was floored to
make the top six.
And then went down to New York, and again didn't take it. So I've been lucky enough to travel a lot, but I don't know what it'll take to feel like I've won.
That's fair, because I think the year that we did World Class, you just got back from Scotland.
Yeah, so
for the Drambuie.
Yeah, and that was, so I guess I technically won that Drambuie competition.
But it doesn't taste like a national.
No. No, it's funny. Jeff Savage, who you just talked to recently, he and I, after World Class, the year that you and I did it, we were having a conversation, and he and I were sort of saying the same thing, that neither of us had ever won a national, had never won a big one. Like, we'd won a ton of, like, regionals and, you know, like the generally the kind of, not the rankings, but like bartenders start to separate themselves out. It's like a race, right?
Yeah.
Like the various like packs start to like separate themselves out. So it was nice when Jeff actually moved out of Calgary, because it meant that I could start winning competitions. But he and I had a conversation about not having won a national final, or a big one, like you put it, and I said to him, well, let's make a deal. At the end of next year, we'll sit down with a bottle of Johnny Walker Blue.
Which would have been, what, this year? Or the end of last year?
It was going to be, like, end of this year.
Okay.
And I said, if we both win one, we'll split it. And if one of us wins and the other doesn't, the one that doesn't buys the bottle.
That's a good bet. So
I now owe him a bottle of Johnny Walker Blue.
Is there any other competitions before the end of the year? Not national ones.
Not that I have time for. Like, I'm sure there's like Patron or something, but
I think Patron's already gone by. Bacardi Legacy's already gone by.
No,
and World Class, like, I have to say, like, I know that this year, one thing I do regret this year with World Class. Not that I didn't compete, because I was going to be I was supposed to be a challenge.
You were going to be a challenge?
Yes. Not many people know this. Me and Michael had been working on it for about three months.
Yeah.
And just before we were tying off all the travel arrangements and stuff, my Singapore gig came up.
Right.
But I was actually a Diageo World Class challenge. I have no idea how I was going to be a challenge. It was going to involve the podcast. Mm-hmm. And
you know what it probably was? They ended up doing the challenge that was the on-camera interview.
Which is probably what
it was, yeah.
So, and I was like, I really want to do World Class for this. If I'm not again away next year, I'm going to try and do it. Michael and I will probably team up for next year. If you're listening to this, Michael, we need to team up for next year to make sure I'm on it. Hopefully I won't be traveling anywhere. Hopefully. Yeah. But yeah, it was supposed to be a challenge. And I feel like World Class every year, like, the one great thing that Michael does and works with John Gakuru and stuff like that is, like, they try to replicate globals to such an nth degree. And I was lucky enough, I saw Singapore World Class this year and the Nairobi World Class.
Oh, wow.
Just via, like, videos and stuff. And while the competition is very hard and getting into the nationals and stuff like that, and the globals are still insanely hard, I feel like Canada has got it freaking dialed into...
I mean, I have a real soft spot for that competition. I really love World Class. It's one of those competitions that I will do...
every year.
Basically every year. Because it really pushes you. Yeah. I've never felt achievement like I felt the year you and I did it together. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't necessarily that I did very well, but it was knowing how much I had improved from the first year I did it. The first year I did it, I showed up totally unprepared. I was like, I've won some local cocktail comps. I'm
That was me in Nationals last year.
And it was crushing. It was so overwhelming, and I still remember, like, I was the first person to go up at do speed round.
Yeah.
First person, first day. Got all the drinks up, but it was not great. And it was just sort of like I showed up and I was like, I have these 6 drinks for you. I look around and everyone else is like, oh, I have like a display piece. Here's my theme. Here's my menu. Here's everything. And I was like, oh, I did not understand what this was, and there is no time to fix it now. And I was also setting up in the prep room next to Caitlin Stewart, who went on to win everything. And I just looked at like her whole setup. And I was like,
oh fuck, I've shut the bed.
Yeah, I have fucked up.
But you came out last year hard, and to be honest, like after talking to Jeff this week or last week, I do not envy this year's globals. It's in 3 different cities.
3 different cities.
3 different countries.
Yeah. He and I actually got on a call a few weeks ago and went through the challenge package. And looking at the challenges that they're doing.
Well, because that's the thing is, I don't know about you. I remember like we're doing nationals last year, and I'm sure you're the same with going to Whistler. Like, I literally dropped like $180 in like over baggage to get all my stuff to nationals, and then you're doing globals in 3 different cities.
The nice thing is that they're severely dilating. Like, they've taken steps, I think, absolutely to curtail that. Mm-hmm. So for Whistler this year, I mean, when you and I did nationals, I think from the start to the finish of that competition, I had to come up with like 26 drinks.
Yeah.
And if you include the speed round, I think I ended up doing 30.
Yeah.
Whereas we ended up only making like 4. Like 4 or 5 for nationals this year. Which
That's
was nice.
Focused and honed.
They were extremely focused, and they forced us to work within the pantry that we have at Globals.
Yeah.
Which I think is really smart. So basically, no one showed up with anything because everything was like you.
Oh, that's kind of cool.
You could make ingredients, but you had to make ingredients from stuff in the pantry.
Spot, yeah.
So you couldn't show up with like your spruce tip syrup or anything.
So are you going back to world class next year?
I think so. When I talked to Jeff most recently, he made a very good point that the year he took off,
which is our year,
which was our year, was when he kind of did the most of his growth. Like he had just started at Botanist, and he really poured himself into that bar, and all of the effort that he would have put into something like World Class, he put that much effort into an entire year, which, if you think about, you spend a month getting ready for a competition, like how much you're learning and trying and experimenting, and you really do come out of it a better bartender. Imagine doing that for an entire year. It'd be grueling and it'd be hard, but at the end of it, you'd have an incredible...
So is that hinting that you're going to take a year off?
I don't know yet. Every time I say I'm going to take a year off...
well, what's your plan in Edmonton right now?
So right now, I have basically just accepted a position to be bar manager at a new project that's opening. Mm-hmm. It's from the same ownership group that currently owns Little Hong Kong, where I work, and Baijiu Restaurant, which is kind of our mother restaurant. Little Hong Kong is just a speakeasy in the back of it. But we're opening a new spot called Pablo, which is essentially going to be an 80s inspired kind of Bel Air cocktail lounge, which is the opposite of almost every other cocktail bar in the city. Edmonton, being kind of a relatively like young market, still has a bit of that sense of like cocktails are serious, and it is changing as every market does. Like it, we get away from it, but it's still one of those spots where it's like we make our own tonic syrup, and we make.
Why you can buy tonic?
And that's the thing. Like it's great that you want to do that. I did that. I was that bartender. Like we made our house cola, we made our house tonic syrup, but every now and then, like you just realize it's a lot of work, and most of the time
you can buy better.
Someone probably just wants tonic that isn't brown and cloudy
and not really carbonated.
Yeah. So our goal with it is to open a space that is very much the opposite of that. Like,
do you feel like Edmonton's culture has sort of come that circle where it's going to fit into play? Or do you think it's going to more revolutionize the culture and almost be a stepping stone for all the other bars to sort of play up into?
I think it'll certainly push it in a different direction. Like looking at the program that myself and Natasha, my general manager, the bartender, literally trained me to be working with her again on a menu. Like what we put together is, it's not necessarily super forward looking, but it's taking cocktails that are somewhat maligned and making them
cool,
good, like
Pepperlo Mocha.
Yeah, like of course we'll put a Cosmo on the menu. Hell, we'll put a Cosmo on tap. Like, why not? But, stuff like that. Like, have a Bloody Mary on the menu.
Yeah,
like,
I've got to think about those.
So many bartenders do, and
no, it's not for that. It's just that I don't understand why you drink one after 2:00 in the afternoon. 2:00 is my cutoff for Caesars and Bloody Marys.
That's fair.
That's just like, okay, it's after brunch.
Yeah.
It's just that's not what you do.
I mean, it's Alberta. I want to drink them all the time.
Oh, Caesars, man. So with everything that you've done, like really, like you've done 3 world classes, Manhattan thing, like for Toronto Cocktail Conference.
Yeah. Like
you're a trash panda.
Yeah.
Which is the volunteers here.
Yep.
Why? Like, you could easily be like, nah. I sometimes want to ask Smolenski the same questions, because Smolenski still does CAP program, and he still does, like, San Antonio. He's always, like, the guy who's the head of volunteers and stuff.
Yeah.
Like, you could quite comfortably just come in and cruise around the conference without having to do any of this hard work stuff. Why?
I want to feel like I'm in the heart of it. I want to feel like I'm a part of it, and I don't want to feel like I'm a part of it. I want to help. I came last year for the first time. Well, it was the first year that they did it, right? And had a very good time and enjoyed it. And it was a much better experience than I had had at Tales the year before. Mm-hmm. I found myself really disillusioned by Tales of the Cocktail when I went. But TOCC was like small. It was intimate. It reminded me of going to like Portland Cocktail Week for the first time. And I really enjoyed it. And I wanted to help make this year's just as good, if not better. I wanted to be involved because I saw the value in it to bartenders. So, what Josh and Jess do is pretty great. And John and Gord, like the whole team that puts together TOCC, they work really hard. I've done events like that, like in Edmonton. I know how much work it is. So,
which I apologize this year.
That's okay.
It's my bad.
That's all right.
Smolenski gave me some serious crap for it.
I'm sure he did. No, it's okay. But I just want to, one, like, come to this and learn and help build it out. But also, it means that when I do an event like Science of the Cocktail in Edmonton, I bring a bit more experience in running events like that. And I can help pass those skills on to other bartenders so that eventually I don't have to do it anymore and I can just go and enjoy it. Because I'm too old to do this anymore. But
so apart from the new place, what's the plan for the rest of the year? Is the new place going to be open before the end of the year?
It'll probably open we're shooting for end of September.
Okay.
So it's going to be basically just head down, like getting that place running smoothly. We're looking at a pretty kind of intense program. It's a small team, 5 bartenders. No kitchen, like
no food.
We're kind of going to do it the way like Civil does here, where there's a restaurant upstairs, and they're just going to deliver tacos to us, which is I'm fine with. But we're shooting for kind of hours that will hit both happy hours.
Wow!
So like 5 p.m. till 2 a.m. So long, but Edmonton has always been like pretty barren in terms of like late night spots.
Is it going to be downtown?
Yeah, it's right on Jasper Avenue downtown.
Okay. Well, I know that once I do the book tour, I'll have to come out.
Yeah, I mean, our goal is to go for it with this one.
Okay.
Like, get the right people in there, do guest shifts and activations, and make it like an incredible bar. Like,
and as soon as I open something, Victoria will come work for me.
Yeah. Oh man. Like, yeah. As soon as it falls apart, I'm just out of there. But no, I think it'll be quite good. I'm excited about it.
Well, thanks, buddy. Thanks for sitting down with me.
Yeah, of course.
I enjoyed the beers.
Yeah, me too. I needed one.
I did too.
Yeah.
Okay, well, have a good week.
Thanks. You too.
I'll see you around.
Of course. Bye. Bye.
Thanks, Post Shifters. I hope you enjoyed that episode. If you're listening, whatever platform you're on, give me a good rating, subscribe, listen along. I'm going to keep going. I really enjoy sitting down with people and learning where they're from, what they did, and how they got to where they were. So if you love it, give me a good 5 stars. If you don't, give me 1 and I'll try harder.